back to English Ambition, and I am Kakoli, and today I am going to do a chapter from Flamingo called Poets and Pancakes. It is written by Asokamitran. He was a famous Tamil writer, and this is a small extract from the autobiography written by him only called My Years with Boss. Now here, by the term boss, he refers to a famous producer-director called S.S. Vasan, and he was the owner of a studio, a film studio called Gemini Studios. Okay, and initially when he was young, means the author Asokamitran was young, he had worked in that studio for a long period of time. So this is a part of his autobiography where he discusses and describes the various people and the activity of Gemini Studio, right? And it is, a little funny depiction. It's a little satirical depiction. Some of the times he makes fun of the people or the activities that used to take place there. Now there, what was his work? He would collect all the important news that were published in the newspaper. He would cut them and maintain a record in the file. Though his work was very insignificant, but at the same time, he was one of the most knowledgeable or versed person in the studio, because he would read newspaper in detail, and a person who reads newspaper in such detail will have a knowledge of everything that is happening in and around the country. So he was very, very well informed person. Okay, so let's begin with the chapter. And as I tell you children every time, please keep your books with you, because I will do the chapter in detail yet fast, with giving you focus on the important and probable questions that are there. So if you read the book along with my listening to the video, it will be very, very helpful. Means इसके बाद आपको और पढ़ने की ज़रूरत ही नहीं है. You just listen और underline करते जाइए. On later on, I'll give you the question answers also in the description box. So it will be very, very helpful to you. Right? So let's begin. The author says, first he begins with the meaning of the word pancakes. Okay, pancakes, don't think the pancakes that you eat, chocolate pancake and maple syrup, aisa kuch bhi nahi hai. It is actually a kind of makeup that is used by the actors or actresses. Okay, and it was actually used earlier. Maybe now it is not used. So the author says that all the famous actresses and actors have been using this makeup, और उनको जब मेकअप किया जाता था उनका, तो ये पैनकेक जरूर यूज होता था. And loads, truckloads of pancakes would come to Gemini Studio for doing the makeup of all the famous actors and actresses. Okay, now he comes to the description of the studio, the makeup room. First he talks of the makeup room. He says that doing makeup in the makeup room was a very, very painful experience. Why? He calls it a fiery experience, fiery misery. Okay, it is here on page 58. That's why I'm saying you keep your books with you, it will be helpful. So it was a fiery misery. Why? This can come as a short question. Because the makeup room was filled with incandescent light. Incandescent, you should know the meaning of the word. Incandescent means the lights that emitted heat also. Along with light, it also produced a lot of heat. So it was very difficult for the people, the actors and actresses, to get makeup. उनको बहुत गर्मी लगती थी. Okay. Next, he says again an important question, that the makeup studio of Gemini Studio, the makeup room, was an example of national integration. Why? Because initially in the early days, it was headed by a Bengali person who later on became a famous director, so he left. Then it was taken over by a man from Andhra, then a Madras Indian Christian, and then by an Anglo-Burmese. So he's telling that it is an example of national integration because various types of people from different communities and regions of India have worked in the makeup room, right? Next, he says that there was a certain hierarchy in doing the makeup of the actors. What does he say over here? Again, an important question, children. जो मैं बताती जा रही हूँ, please make a note, and you can see it also in the screen. I have also given it so that it is helpful for you. Now, what is the hierarchy? Again, a 2-marker question can be there. The chief makeup artist made the makeup or did the makeup of the hero and the heroine, the chief actors, and the next one who was under him did the makeup of the second hero or the second heroine, the the ones that are next in importance in the movie, and then the junior assistant of the head makeup artist would do that of the villains and the comedians. And when there would be a crowd involved in the shooting, है ना, ऐसे बहुत सारे सीन्स होते हैं जिसमें क्राउड दिखाते हैं, कोई मार्केट प्लेस, कोई शॉप और कोई वेडिंग, इस टाइप के, where we require a lot of people to be done a makeup. There was a boy, means he's not a boy actually, office boy, though he says he was not a boy, he was a man in his 40s, but उनको office boy बुलाया जाता था. So उस दिन when a crowd shooting was there, the office boy would put makeup in a bucket और वो ऐसे लेके सबके face पे ऐसे लगाते जाते थे. तो as I told you, थोड़ा सा funny है, कुछ descriptions are funny. So he says that was the work of the office boy. Now he starts with a description of the office boy. He says that the office boy had come to the industry with a lot of aspirations. He had great hopes of himself. Either he wanted to become a director or a lyricist or an actor, but sadly he could not make any of it, and he only remained as an office boy. As a result, he was very upset because he could not fulfill his ambition or his desires with which he came to the industry, and for some unknown reason he blamed for his failure, he blamed a man called Subbu. Subbu, who is Subbu? Now we are coming to Subbu. As I told you, the head was SS Vasan, who is also regarded as the boss. After him, next in line of importance was a man called Kothamangalam Subbu. There is a train passing, so I hope it doesn't disturb my teaching. So a man called Kothamangalam Subbu. Now, who was Kothamangalam Subbu? He was a multifaceted character and he had lot of attributes, and I am expecting a character sketch of Subbu of a long question of 5 marks. So please be ready with the character of Subbu. I will quickly tell you the highlights of his character, and again I am repeating, keep the book and keep on underlining as and when I say. Number 1 is in page 60. Subbu became very important. Why? Number 1, he was a man with lot of ideas. When he is on the set, he would give ideas to the director also कि इस scene को ऐसे 3 तरीके से आप shoot कर सकते हैं. So he had a lot of ideas. So he would give very good ideas even to the director to how to shoot a scene in different ways and angles, and that seemed very, very helpful to all of them. Next, he says that he was also a good writer. He was a very good poet. He had written a lot of poems, and a very famous play called Thinala Mohanambal. Okay, that is also very, very important. It's over here. A novel, Thilana Mohanambal, and it became very famous. So he was not only filled with ideas, he was a poet, he was an author, and next he was also an actor. Though he never played the role of hero, but whatever character role he played, it seemed that he was much better than the lead roles or the hero or the heroine. Okay, so he was, as we can understand, is a multifaceted character. Next, it is said, the fourth thing that I'm telling you about him is he was a very, very generous and a helpful man. In his house lived a lot of people, his relatives, his distant relatives, and not only relatives, acquaintances, whoever needed help would stay in his house. Okay, so the author says, how can such a man who's so talented, who's so generous, cause harm to anybody? So the allegation of the office boy seemed completely invalid because Subbu seemed to be a very, very helpful, good and a generous person. Maybe a lot of people were jealous of him because he was the second in line of the boss, and he would always say yes boss, yes boss. He would always support SS Vasan. तो लोगों को थोड़ा सा उनसे थोड़ा सा जलन या envy ऐसे होता था. Otherwise he was a good person. Now the author moves to a character of a lawyer. Okay, there was a lawyer also in the Gemini studio. Whatever legal things had to be resolved related to the movies or to the studio, he would take care. So this lawyer, now the author talks about, was also a very, interesting character. He was very intelligent. Though he was the legal advisor, lawyer is the legal advisor, but because of his, crooked, shrewd brain, people would also call him illegal advisor. Now, एक example is given, तो ये भी again a question आ सकता है यहाँ से कि what did the lawyer do, or how because of the lawyer the career of an actress came to an end. So I will explain that. Now, one day what happened, there was an actor, a female actor, or we can say actress also. So she was shooting in the studio, and suddenly she lost her temper. She was very temperamental and she started throwing tantrums, and she started a quarrel with the director and the other people, and she was shouting and ranting in very high pitch, and she was throwing a lot of tantrums, and people did not know how to stop her or how to manage her. In the meantime, lawyer ne kya kiya? He started recording the way she is speaking and shouting and behaving. He recorded the whole thing, and the moment the actress stopped for breath, she was very excited, so she stopped for breath, he played the recording, and she saw that when she saw herself in that very, very indecent, condition, she is shouting and ranting and misbehaving, unko khud pe sharam aaya. She was so embarrassed that she left, and not only did she leave, she left acting, means her career, which was quite a promising career. She was a good actress. She could have gone far in future. She left acting once and for all. She was so embarrassed by looking at her own behavior. So this was the intelligence, you can say, or quickness of wit of the lawyer. Okay, so this is the lawyer. It can come as an important question. Now next, the author says that Gemini Studio used to be a favorite hub for all the famous authors and poets of India. They would come and talk and discuss a lot of literary things of that time. And most of the people, rather all the people of Gemini Studio, were influenced by Gandhiji. Okay, his vision, his thoughts, his political views, and they were not very much political in nature, but they somehow directly, indirectly, they were supporters of Gandhiji. Now, in the meantime, in India also, the air of communism was coming in. Communism kya hai? Communism is, a theory that was propounded by Karl Marx. We also call it Marxism. It started in Russia. Okay, so I'm not going into the detail of it, but the author says, उस time पे लोगों को ये लगता था, the people who supported communism, they are not believers of God. They didn't believe in God, so they did not like the communists or the theory of communism. Now, in the meantime, there came, a theatre group called Moral Rearmament Army of Frank Bookmans. It's over here. So a question again can come from here, a short 2-marker question. Now, why these people came over here? Because they wanted to reinstill the value of God, or make people believe God and make them go against communism. So they wanted that spread of communism to stop, and they wanted people to have faith in God. So these people came and they took Gemini Studio to enact these plays, because Gemini Studio was a very famous studio, very influential studio that time. So they took, and S.S. Vasan agreed also, because as it is, they were also against communism and they were also supporters of Gandhi. तो उनको शुरू में बहुत ज़्यादा समझ में नहीं आ रहा था कि ये लोग exactly क्या करना चाह रहे थे, but he allowed them. And the author says that they did 2 plays called Jotham Valley and The Forgotten Factor. The plays were very simple, not बहुत unique, कुछ भी नहीं था, but the costumes that they used and some techniques that they used were very, very good. And how do you know that the people, the Tamil theatre industry was highly influenced by these 2 plays? This can again be a question. That for some years, almost all the Tamil plays had a scene of sunrise and sunset in the manner of Jotham Valley. Okay, now after a few years, all the plays would depict in the same manner the scene of sunset and sunrise, and it was depicted in the Jotham Valley. So they liked, उनका जो technique था, set था, costumes थे, that were much better than what were used in India that time. So they liked it and tried to follow. And the author says कि बहुत बाद में इन लोगों को समझ में आया कि why these people came, because their main purpose was to spread religious attributes and to stop the spreading of communism. Okay, so this is that part of MRA. MRA is the Moral Rearmament Army. So question can come from here. Now next he says that after some time, again a news came to them that a very famous poet, an English poet, is coming to give a lecture or to speak to them in the Gemini Studio. Now they were very intrigued, why a famous like an author or a poet is coming. Moreover, the name of the poet was not that common. His name was Stephen Spender. Now they didn't hear, they knew about Lord Tennyson, William Wordsworth, some of them knew the names of Shelley, Byron, Keats, but they did not hear the name of Stephen Spender. So they were a little surprised that he kyun aa rahe, what is his purpose and all that. And when he came also, next page 64, when he came, he gave a lecture. As we can understand, he was an English poet. He gave his lecture in, fluent English and with this accent. So these people, though some of them were knowledgeable and literate, but they could not understand the, the accent and the speech of a proper English poet. So he kept on giving his speech, and these people were completely dumbstruck, sitting in front of him, understanding not a word that he was trying to convey. और कुछ देर बाद इनको ये भी समझ में आ गया कि पोएट को भी समझ में आ गया कि the audience is not able to understand whatever he is saying. So the author says it remained an unexplained mystery. So again, children, please underline page 64, first paragraph ka end line, that the visit of the poet, English poet Stephen Spender, it remained an unexplained mystery for them कि वो क्यों आए थे, उनको क्यों बुलाया गया था, उन्होंने क्या कहा. None of them could understand anything of it. However, this mystery will be cleared now. I will tell you, after a lot of years, not immediately, long time later, he will understand कि why he had come. Now the author says कि उनको थोड़ा सा लिखने का शौक था, as definitely we can understand he is the author. So धीरे धीरे वो जब stories लिखने लगे, he said that once he saw that there is a competition means of story writers that in England. So he had to send his story to England. Now he can understand जिस टाइम की हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं उस टाइम पे तो ऐसा नहीं ना कि we will easily mail it, कोई you will not spend a penny of it, no, ऐसा नहीं है. तो उनको लंदन भेजना था एक स्टोरी, तो ही थॉट कि भेजने से पहले लेट मी फाइंड आउट कि इसका क्या क्रेडिबिलिटी है. ऐसा नहीं कि मेरा पूरा पैसा ही वेस्ट हो जाएगा, मैं इतना मेहनत से स्टोरी लिख के भेजूंगा और वो वेस्ट होगा. तो ही वेंट टू द ब्रिटिश काउंसिल लाइब्रेरी to find out about that newspaper, that magazine that was conducting this competition. उस magazine का नाम था The Encounter. So he went to the British Council Library and he saw that newspaper that was lying over there. He picked up and he tried to see कि ये newspaper कितना अच्छा है, ये actually है भी कि नहीं, मेरा पूरा मेहनत तो बेकार नहीं जाएगा. And then he found out that the editor of that newspaper is none other than Stephen Spender. Stephen Spender जो आए थे Gemini studio में to give the lecture. So now he understood कि okay, he is not only an poet but he is also an editor, and that's why S.S. Vasan was also happy to bring him, because S.S. Vasan, the owner of Gemini studio, the boss, he was also an editor. So maybe that's why he had brought him. तो उनको ये समझ में आया थोड़ा बहुत. Okay, so this is one part. Now the author says there is a lapse of time. He says later in life, जब वो थोड़े से age हो गया था उनका और he had left Gemini studio, one day he was going in the street और उनको on the roads he saw a lot of books being sold. This is a very common thing. Many times we find these, you know, in Calcutta, in Chennai, in Mumbai, we'll find a lot of books are sold on the street. There are second-hand books that they sell in less amount of money. So he saw a lot of books being sold, or unme se just he was flipping through and he got a book called The God That Failed. The God That Failed. So he was fascinated and he picked up the book and he saw that it is, you know, a compilation of essays written by 6 authors. Okay, 6 essays were that. It's not a story book. Essays, you understand. After reflection, share kiya 6 authors ne. So he picked up that book and he saw that one of them was Stephen Spender. And what was that book about? God That Failed. किसके बारे में है ये God That Failed? किसके बारे में बात किया जा रहा है? Now all these 6 authors had written about their disillusionment in communism. मतलब what is the meaning? कि मैं बोलना क्या चाह रही हूँ? See, these all 6 authors, they had once upon a time in their lives, they were influenced by communism. They maybe wanted to take up communism. They supported communism. But after following the path of communism for some time, they understood that it was not good and they left it and they came back. Okay, so all these authors were sharing their displeasure, their disillusionment about communism. Now try to understand. Now turn the page to page 66. We are coming to the end of the chapter. Now the poet says, I felt, very important question children, I felt a dark chamber of my mind lit up by a hazy illumination. कौन सा dark chamber था ये वही dark chamber था जो पहले बताया गया था, that why Stephen Spender was invited to Gemini studio remained as an unsolved mystery. Now he understood that why Stephen Spender was invited to Gemini studio. Why? To share his displeasure about communism. Okay, because S.S. Vasan did not want people to be influenced by communism. That's why he had invited Stephen Spender to share his views against communism. Ki communism, why it is not good enough or something. Okay, so that is the reason Stephen Spender had gone. So the author says, itne saalon baad, now I understood why he came, and wo jo dark corner tha mere heart ka, it was enlightened and it was no longer a mystery. So this can come as a question, which was mystery is referring to, or what was the dark chamber that he was referring to, how it was illuminated. तो यहाँ से हम लोग को question मिल सकता है. Okay, so that is what he is now the chapter about. Now let's do a quick recap of the questions that can come from this chapter, as I have already told you also. So we can say from the beginning, what were pancakes used for? Describe the fiery misery or the makeup room of Gemini Studio. Next we can say, what was the hierarchy? And why was the office boy so angry? Who is the office boy? What was his job? Next, a long question about Kothamangalam Subbu, about his multifaceted character, how good man he was, or what were his talents. That is very important. Next, we can get a question about MRA, why they came and how were the Tamil fraternity influenced by MRA. What did they do that shows that they liked it or they were influenced? So that is very important. Next definitely is the lawyer, how the lawyer was instrumental in bringing the career of a promising actress to an end. That is also an important question. Then why was Stephen Spender invited? How was it? How did the people react to him? Nobody understood anything. Okay, next, how did that mystery of his coming to Gemini Studio resolved at the end of the chapter? Okay, so these are the probable questions. I have discussed the chapter in great detail, children. If you are studying the chapter with the help of a book while you are listening to my video, believe me, it will be immensely helpful. And not only this, I do all the chapters in the same manner. So please subscribe the channel and share it with all your friends. And I am providing the question answers in the description box. So I hope you enjoy the channel and you enjoy my teaching. So give a thumbs up to it and share it with all your friends. Thank you and happy learning.